What's going on, guys? Cole here. Sorry for the delay. Sorry it's been so long since we've made any kind of a video, but life happens, right? So we're jumping into 2026, trying to get back on the train. But real quick, before we jump into the video, make sure you guys check out our website. We've revamped it quite a bit. Some of the new team members that we have, their bios are up on the website, and we also have a few new merch items for the new year. So be sure to check all that stuff out. Hopefully you guys like it. Let's jump into the video. So before we move over, what this video is going to be about is my current 2026 plate carrier setup. Now this is going to be tailored to an infantry squad leader in the Army. I don't know about other branches or other roles, but this is going to be tailored to an infantry squad leader in the Army because that's currently what I am. So first, before we hop over there and actually go check out the plate carrier, we have to lay out some of the general requirements. One, just for an infantry rifleman, but then we'll dive into the specifics of being a squad leader. So if we're looking at what every infantry rifleman has to carry, he has to have his ammo loadout of 7 magazines. He has to have a way to carry 7 mags, or at least 6 if he has 1 in the gun, right? Then we also have to consider med, where our IFAC's gonna be. Then we have to have a means of carrying our night vision, and we have to have a means of conducting land nav. So a place to store map, compass, protractor, all that good stuff. We have to have a way to carry those things. As you become a team leader and a squad leader, you don't just suddenly not have to carry that stuff anymore. You just also have to carry additional things. So you have to have comms considerations. You have to have methods of marking, like smoke grenades, star clusters, VS-17 panels, etc. And then it's also nice if you have some additional storage for administrative or operational data. For me, like checkpoints, comms cards, all my squad members having all their data stored somewhere. All that stuff is also nice to have. So yeah, that's what we're looking at, and we're going to go in order here, at least in my mind, in order of precedence, and talk about how I facilitate that. And I think a lot of people, I know for myself especially, we've struggled to try and have the most ideal kind of perfected, like tailored kit for ourselves, working within the restrictions that the Army puts on us. So this is kind of like, if you have no restrictions, this is what you can do. And if some of the things, I think for a lot of people, you're obviously not going to try and completely copy my plate carrier because it's a lot. But if you're struggling to, how am I going to squeeze on one more mag? How am I going to squeeze on this or that? I'm going to have a few solutions for you in this video, some things that you guys can think about. And this is going to be a deep dive. I'm going to talk about every piece of my plate carrier, even if it doesn't directly apply to squad leader or infantry specific things. I'm going to address all the comfort items as well. So yeah, let's hop into it. All right, guys, so this might be kind of weird. Sorry we lost all the cool lighting and everything, but I think that this is going to be the best way to show you guys my plate carrier is on this little gear display stand that I have here. So like I said, we're going to run through pretty much all the criteria that I listed out before, and I'm just going to show you guys on the kit how I actually facilitate carrying that in a minimalistic, like efficient yet comfortable way. So first and foremost, this is a Ferro Concepts FCPC V5, and it's in a size medium. I'm about 5'11", 180 pounds, and this plate carrier fits me very well. I've always worn medium plates in the Army, so that's what I base my sizing on. And I do also have the 3AC cummerbund, I think it's called, which is the more structural cummerbund that they have. It's lined with the Tegris and everything. And I also have the Cobra Buckle quick disconnect, donning, doffing, whatever, on the right side of my cummerbund. And if you've never experienced the ability to unbuckle your shoulder strap and unbuckle your cummerbund and just slide your plate carrier off your shoulder versus dragging it up and down your ears, give it a shot. There's several ways that you can do it with the tubes that are out now, or these Cobra buckles from Ferro, but it's awesome. And also, yes, I'm a right-handed shooter, so this Cobra buckle does sit right here. However, it is not a distraction. It's not uncomfortable. It feels totally fine. You don't even notice it, okay? That was one of my concerns when I was first getting this, was like, oh man, is that plate carrier, or is that Cobra buckle gonna dig into my shoulder? No, it doesn't. It doesn't impact my ability to shoulder a weapon or anything whatsoever. It purely just adds a really nice comfort feature, being able to unbuckle here, unbuckle on the cummerbund, and slide the plate carrier off sideways, and then buckle in, and it's on. I have a big head, so dragging a plate carrier shoulder straps up and down my ears sucks. So this is an awesome comfort feature that if you guys haven't explored, I highly recommend. So first, right, ammo. We're not going to dive into my belt setup, but that's kind of part of this, right? I see plate carriers or chest rigs as kind of your primary means of carrying equipment. A belt is a secondary means of carrying equipment, so that does supplement my ability to carry stuff in addition to the plate carrier, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But ammo, you have to be able to carry at least 6 mags, assuming you have one in the gun, so that you have a complete rifleman's loadout of 7 mags. Typically what you'll see on plate carriers is some kind of a placard where people are running 3 mags across the front. That's also what I'm doing, and I'm doing that with a Spiritus Systems Mark V. I think it's the Microfight rig. So all it is just a single shingle that has an opening where you can put different magazine inserts inside of it. So I just have the 3 triple 5.56 mag insert in there, and that's what I got. I got 3 mags across the front, and then I also have, I think it's the CCS pouch from Spiritus, and this is where I store my admin data, but we'll get to that in a minute. Where I carry additional magazines is on this dangler pouch. If you guys can see it, this is from Axle Advanced. It's a dual mag hanger dangler, and these pouches are pretty rigid, like they stay open, but they provide really, really good retention. And then they also have some shot cord tabs that come with it so that you can add additional retention to those magazines. But for me, this is just a good way to, I feel like the biggest issue that I always ran into was having a minimalist plate carrier. It's hard to carry all my mags, especially in an NCO role, because you have so many other things that you have to be able to carry. On deployment, I would have my 3 mags on my chest, I'd have 1 on my belt and 1 in the gun, and that's 5, and I would carry my additional 2 magazines in my assault pack or whatever to resupply myself, similar to how a saw gunner or a 240 guy would. He would have kind of a starter kit on his chest rig or his plate carrier, and then he could resupply himself as needed. Not really a 240 because they have an AG and an ammo bearer, but whatever. You get my point. But for me, I have my 3 here. I'd run 2 on the dangler. I don't have one over here, but I'd run 2 on the dangler, 1 on my belt. That's my 6, and then 1 in the gun, and we're good. So I've met my ammo requirement, right? So flipping this thing around, you're going to see a lot of things that don't really pertain to the squad leader thing, but the big thing is the IFAK. Generally, every unit that I've ever been in, the IFAK is always kind of SOP that it has to be on your left cummerbund towards the back. So everybody knows where it is. Everybody has it set up in the same way. My unit started to kind of allow us to get away from that, so long as we were using the Ferro Concepts trauma roll. And you can't really see it too well here because I have my bolt cutters. The sled is in the way here, but you can see both tabs, right? And that's kind of the advantage that this offers is, one, it allows you to clear up your cummerbund real estate. They say that it provides some kind of a lumbar support if you're sitting in a vehicle for a long time. I'm not saying that it's not nothing. It helps a little bit, but it doesn't help a whole lot. So don't feel like you're getting a nice back pad or anything like that. But the advantage that it offers is that it's ambidextrous. So you can pull this tab from either side and you can access all of your med equipment. It also, if you can pack it up nicely, you can actually carry more in this trauma roll than you can in a standard IFAK. So This is also from Ferro Concepts. I think Forward Observations Group also sells it on their website. But these things are money. And so I labeled both of mine with red electrical tape so that my buddies can see it and they know. But my unit started letting us use these because it would clear up the real estate. It is still accessible from the left side where the SOP is driven. But the advantage is that it's also accessible from the right side. So we could deviate from that a little bit. We are still kind of falling in line with the SOP, but we're just adding to the SOP, not taking away from the SOP. So these are actually pretty common in my unit now just because they're awesome. Guys love them. But you know, if you're struggling with cummerbund real estate, see if you can't talk to your leadership and ask about a compromise to be able to run these. They're phenomenal. So jumping back to the front of the plate carrier, we're going to talk about our nods, right? How we're going to carry nods. For me, I do have a GP pouch on my left-hand side on the cummerbund. This is a Spiritus GP pouch. In my opinion, Spiritus makes the best GP pouches on the market. It just is what it is. I have so many of these things. The small, medium, large, all their different sizes. They're awesome. Can't recommend them enough. But this is where I carry my nods if I'm not wearing my belt. If I have my belt, I also have a Spiritus GP pouch on my belt because a lot of times on deployment, I'd be away from my plate carrier and I wanted to have, you know, a pistol. I'd have my pistol mags and I'd have my nods on me. But so I would generally run my nods in my pouch on my belt. It just freed up space in here that I could store extra batteries or whatever else I needed. And that was kind of my preferred method, but the point is having the ability to carry the things that you need to carry. So this is my solution for that. If I'm just running my plate carrier, then I can carry my nods in this pouch. These pouches are awesome. They have tie down points on the inside, like anchor points, so that you can tie your nods down and carabiner them on the inside of your pouch, so that even if your pouch is opened up on a movement or whatever, you don't have to worry about your nods falling out and just falling on the ground, and then you're having to deal with that for the rest of your day, or maybe the next few days. The other thing that I kind of forgot to mention earlier is water considerations. So generally for me, I carry Nalgene's or a Camelback bladder or something in my ruck, or I would have to have a carabiner with my Nalgene just kind of dangling off my kit, and that kind of sucked. So what I recently got was the Core Performance Hydro Flask. I think it's called the Hydro Flask, Ice Flask, whatever it's called, with their little expander wing pouch. So it just sits underneath the cummerbund. It's Velcroed in underneath the front placard. And so what it is just, I'll actually pull this one out over here because I just have two of them on here right now. But it's just a nice shaped canteen bottle, essentially. It does have kind of a nice curve to it so that when it sits on your body, it's not super uncomfortable. It kind of conforms to the body shape. And so if I'm not running a radio, then cool, I can run two of these bottles. But if I am running a radio, I at least have that one over there. But again, like with the ammo, generally I'll carry a small amount of water on my person, and then I'll have the rest of my water in my ruck or my assault pack or whatever. So these are just, I think they're 16.9 ounces, just like your standard water bottle is. So it's not a full quart, it's only a half a quart, but I can stockpile the rest of my water in my ruck or in my assault pack, and then I can just resupply myself as needed into one of these, so I can keep at least a little bit of water on my kit. And that's kind of like personal considerations. You know, obviously you're going to be dictated on how much water you have to have for a mission, but if say you're setting in an ambush, so you're going to be staging your ruck somewhere while you move up to an ambush line, at least you can have some kind of water on you without having a big Nalgene dangling off, or without, God forbid, having to use a standard issue canteen, which is going to be like the size of this pouch. You're going to have another pouch this size on your kit somewhere. So just again, as a way to take up or free up some real estate on your plate carrier. These expander wings, this is an expander wing from Spiritus Systems. It's just a dual mag expander wing, but it also carries radios really well. And then I also found that it carries these core performance bottles really well. So that's how I would facilitate carrying my water. Before we move on, we also had to talk the nav equipment. So in addition to the GP pouch, We also do have this CCS pouch, and part of this is kind of in the squad leader specific stuff, but having this mollied to the front of my microfight placard allows me to not only carry admin data and all that stuff, but it's also where I can carry my land nav equipment. So compass, map, protractor, all that stuff, we all have to have that stuff as a baseline. But however, it doesn't have to be our primary, right? Like we can have a pace plan. So we have that in case of contingencies or emergencies, we can have that. And for my guys, for the Joes, that's probably going to be your primary means of conducting land nav, and that's fine. But for me, as a squad leader, I want to have multiple ways to know that we're on the correct route, on our azimuth, whatever. So for me, I use the Garmin Fortrex. I can't remember which model this is. I think it's either 401 or 601, whatever. But I just keep this thing strapped to my shoulder strap, and then when we're actually about to step off or whatever, loading grids into it, I can just throw it on my wrist and go from there. My alternate is this phone board. This phone board is from Perset Gear, and I can't recommend this thing enough. It's very simple. It's not really designed for like an ATAC necessarily. It's designed for your phone. So like I have an app that's designed for military GPS navigation. So I put my phone in this phone case that's dedicated just for this phone board. I'll throw my phone in here if we're about to step off, and then I can use this to pull up a full top-down map of where we're going, you know, satellite view, versus being restricted to the Garmin or being restricted to a map. I can also, with some of the different apps that you can get, I can actually in real time battle track where adjacent units are, so that we're not going to have any fratricide issues, right? So I like having this as a primary means of navigation. My phone board it can also be for nav, but it's more for battle tracking. And then compass, map, protractor, all that stuff, that's the fail-safe means of navigation. So we have all those bases covered. Now, as it pertains to being a squad leader, or really just a team leader, squad leader, any kind of NCO role in the infantry world, you're going to have additional things that you have to carry. So the first thing is your radio. My comm setup is pretty thorough. So it really will start from my headset, right? So I have my Peltors. My Peltors come down, and the down lead plugs into this piece right here. This is just a push to talk, so the down lead plugs in here, and this push to talk is mounted on an Axle Advanced push to talk sled, I think they call them. So it's just a piece of Tegris that's mollied in underneath my phone board, and it stays fixed here so it's not flopping around. And I have the push to talk screwed in with screws onto that push to talk mount, and then I also have a piece of shot cord on it just for additional retention. And then I keep the down lead from that routed through some extra loops on the side of my placard. Where I have this bottle here is where I would store my radio. So if I actually had a radio here, it carries a 152, carries an emitter, carries whatever you need. I can throw my radio right here, and I can pull this cable out. I have some additional rubber bands and stuff on my person to help retain any cables, but I can pull this out and I can plug it into the microphone port, and then my antenna is right here. So instead of having an antenna sticking up in my face flopping around, I can just screw this into the antenna port, and then the antenna actually runs around to the back side of my plate carrier, and I have a short stick antenna that runs along my rear plate bag, so that my antenna is back here, not up in my face. And everything is kind of hands-free, fixed. I don't have a microphone that's just blaring out radio traffic into the ether, trying to maintain noise and light discipline. Having that thing just start spouting out really loud, that sucks. So having some Peltors and having this push to talk here just makes everything much more streamlined and efficient. So that's the first part of the additional requirements for being in a squad leader role, like the things that you have to carry. That's my commo setup. Next is methods of marking. So for methods of marking, we have several things to consider. We can say VS-17 panels, smoke grenades, star clusters, chem lights, etc. For me, smoke grenades, just keep this little double mag pouch over here. This is a Cry Precision double mag pouch. This fits smoke grenades great. I keep it on my right side, just again to keep everything a little bit more streamlined and not super bulky, but I like to have it accessible right on my front. And I don't really have another place to put it where it's going to work really well. So that's my smoke grenade pouch. My VS17 panel is actually in this top pouch right here, which this zipper insert is from Axle Advanced. It's made specifically for the FCPC, and that's where I keep my VS17 panel, is right there where it's easy to get to. And I'll have a small piece cut out up here, but I'll also carry some additional larger cutouts of VS17 panel in my CCS pouch. As far as chem lights, I usually just have chem lights on a bundle that's hanging off my belt, right? So we could talk more in depth about that, but I usually just have them all kind of tethered either on 550 or something that I just have carabinered onto my belt so that I can just rip them off, crack them and toss them. That's how I run my chem lights. And then star clusters on the back, I'll show you guys, I have these two long tube pouches that are really designed for linear breach charges, but you can run star clusters in those, and that's been my solution for running big giant cylindrical star clusters. So that pretty much covers all of methods of marking. And as we already covered earlier, admin data, operational data, leader notebooks, all that stuff, I generally just carry in my CCS pouch where it's nice and easy and accessible for me. I can also carry some extra stuff in here, like batteries. I like to have, usually before I would step off on a patrol, I would go and make sure that all of my guys all had extra batteries. We had a preset amount, and I would make sure everybody was plussed up and they had extra batteries accessible on their person, as well as extra methods of marking to help prevent any kind of fratricide or anything. But I like to keep some extra batteries on me for myself and for my guys. I like to make sure that they have extra batteries. The only other thing that we haven't talked about was an additional med consideration. My unit, one of our things that we push for is to have a tourniquet, not just in your IFAK, but also somewhere more accessible on your kit. So for me, I did have it here on the side of my placard, but I just recently moved it over here just to kind of get it out of the way, but still, again, accessible. So that's pretty much it for the core of the plate carrier and all of the squad leader needs. This is how I do it. I have a super minimalist plate carrier, and I'm in a squad leader role. I have a lot of stuff that I have to carry, and this is how I do it. But you might be thinking, well, that's got to be really, really heavy and cumbersome, and it's kind of like over the top bulky, so it's going to suck to carry it, but it doesn't, and we'll talk about why. All right, so I moved the setup again, but I really wanted you guys to be able to see this because this is the newest addition to the plate carrier, and what it is a micro harness from Axle Advanced. So these are pretty universal for any plate carrier that's out there, at least any aftermarket plate carriers from Spiritus, Cry, etc. If anybody's seen the Cry AVS, it has a harness system that is designed to help take weight off of your shoulders and more allow the plate carrier to kind of give you a hug and squeeze on the middle of your torso so that you're not having all that weight just sitting directly on your shoulders. It kind of is just squeezed into your chest and your back, and so you can move around with it. It's not going to be super bouncy or anything. It just makes the whole plate carrier system a whole lot more comfortable. So it's kind of complicated to talk about how it works, or how at least it's installed, but you can see this piece over here as this plate, the front plate bag is kind of in the way, and I'm trying not to blow my TV out right here. You can see this other side over here and this piece right here. They Velcro in to the back of the plate bag, and then they have a piece of shot cord that pulls the two of them together so that they actually kind of squeeze in and hug you. They are padded, and they kind of make the harness do this around your lats, right? They're kind of just giving you a nice little hug, and that just helps to take the weight off a little bit. It helps make it more comfortable with the padding. And in addition to that, as I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on now, so that you guys can see how it actually goes on, and we'll adjust the camera a little bit. So donning and doffing, like I was talking about earlier, just slides over your shoulder. You grab your shoulder strap, pulls up and buckles in. And before I buckle in and show you guys how it actually completely sits, I wanted to talk about these bottles and how, you know, the harness on the rear plate bag kind of squeezes in and helps distribute the weight so that it's not all sitting on your shoulders like it is right now. These bottles from Core Performance, having these little expander wing bottles kind of also does the same thing for the front plate bag as well. So it makes it really, really nice. That's buckling in the whole thing. So I have the cummerbund is squeezing this bottle here. I took the other bottle out earlier, but I would have the other bottle here. Kind of squeezing in on the front side, squeezing in here. I mean, they're not padded, but they are conformed to the body with the little curve shape in the bottle. And then having the same thing on the back really makes it to where the plate carrier is just giving me a hug in my chest. But there is, with the cummerbund, there is a little bit of play, but there is a little bit of play in the cummerbund itself, so it can actually kind of expand and contract with your body as you're breathing and everything. So I don't feel like, you know, I'm constricted and I can't breathe. It just feels like the plate carrier is giving me a nice hug, and not all of the weight is on my shoulder straps like it would have been before. One of my favorite things about the Ferro Concepts FCPC is that it is even though it is a very minimalist plate carrier, it's also very structural. And that was the most popular part of the Cry AVS, was that it was a minimalist plate carrier that you could really overload and turn into a very heavyweight plate carrier, because it had the harness system and it was more structural, so that it wouldn't just kind of hang on you like slop, right? Like the Cry JPC, I've had 4 of them. As far as cost to quality ratio, I think it's the best aftermarket entry-level plate carrier that you can get, being right around $200, and you're getting top-notch quality. However, it's really specifically designed to be a very minimalist plate carrier. So if you add a whole lot of weight to it, it is all going to be sitting on your shoulders. It is going to kind of just have a lot of slop and play in it. And that's why people would go with the Cry AVS. But then if you're getting the Cry AVS with the harness, you're looking at like $800 or $900 that you're going to be dropping on that. The Ferro FCPC isn't a cheap plate carrier, but you're not going to be paying that much money for the complete setup. And having the structural cummerbund and everything really helps a lot. Like, I didn't have this harness or anything during my deployment, but I never had any comfort issues with this thing. And I was carrying enough gear to go outside the wire, right? So I was carrying everything that we've talked about, and I still never had any complaints, but it really was just an added comfort feature for me. You know, I'm always just looking for what's the newest thing that I can get from my kit that's gonna either make it more efficient or make it more comfortable. I have learned now that now I've gotten a pretty significant disability rating and my body hurts all the time. I'm willing to invest in comfort, and that's what I'm trying to do. A more minimalist plate carrier that is just set up efficiently. It's tailored to me, and it's not uncomfortable. I don't want to be in something for hours and hours and hours that's going to be just super uncomfortable and add to my rating that I already have. So that's pretty much the whole setup. But, well, that's all the setup as it pertains to the squad leader role, the infantry role, right? The additional thing that I recently got was kind of this assaulter breacher back panel kit. So this back panel is from Ferro. I want to say it is their assaulters back panel. It has the kind of general purpose pouch on the bottom, and it's got 3 flashbang pouches on the top that you can use for whatever, but generally they're designed to hold flashbangs, with the idea that if you're in a stack doing CQB and you're the number 1 man holding security on a door, if you need a flashbang before you enter into a room, your number 2 man can pull a flashbang off of your back, toss it into the door around you, and you can run that way. And if everybody on your team has flashbangs on their back, on their rear plate bag, then it doesn't really matter where you guys end up in a stack. approaching your next threshold, anybody can grab a flashbang off of anybody else's back and toss it around them. So I thought that that idea was really cool. But then I also got the tool sled, I think it's called, so that I could throw some mini cutters in there. And this thing's really cool. It's got this little retention piece here that's just on a piece of shot cord, and it's got a little pull tab so that it can cover the handle of the bolt cutters. Then you can just reach back and pull them out, and then you can use them. Generally, if you're in contact or whatever, you're not gonna try and stow these. You might just use them and drop them and try and recover them on exfil. But I haven't had a whole lot of practice with this, so bear with me. But it is not super difficult to stow them again. Now getting this piece back on might be kind of a pain. Nope, went right on. But there you go. It's not super time consuming to just pull these out, use them, stow them again, secure them, and move on. And I just thought that that was a really cool thing. I've been playing around with a lot of different breacher tools and different ideas. But that's something that one of our new members on the team and I are going to talk more in depth about in a future video, because he's actually a swap breacher. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Like I said, I'm a size medium. If you're looking into different plate carriers and stuff, I'm a size medium, about 5'10", 5'11", 180 pounds. This is how the kit sits on me. See the dangler. I'll do like full rotation. Okay, it is very thought out, but it's tailored to me and all of the needs in the best way that I could have found. And I've been a gear nerd for a decade at least. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions about any of the products, I think that I rattled off all the brands and everything as I went through, but if I missed one, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, any comments, anything that you want to talk to us about, we try to be very, very responsive in the comment section. So hit us up down there. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, all that jazz. It really, really helps us out as we're really trying to grow our company, and we're getting close to monetization, if I can pronounce that word right. We're getting really close to that, and we're almost at 2,000 subscribers. So it'd be hugely beneficial to us, and we would really appreciate it if you guys did that. And make sure that you guys check out the website, like I said, the new merch and all that, but also most of our social media accounts are already shadow banned, even though we haven't really done a whole lot. We definitely haven't violated the terms and conditions that they say that we have, but most of our social media accounts you can't find by just searching our name. So all of those links are also on the website, and we'll also have our link tree in the description below. So yeah, like I said, if you guys have any questions, let us know. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.